Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast. Today, we are going to be talking some superheroes, and we have the captain with us, Byron Mitchell. How you doing today, sir?
Doing good. You know, I had to come back and talk about these superhero shows.
Yeah, man. It's been a while since we've done a superhero hour, as I like to call them, a superhero pod. It's been a minute.
I think the last one we did was for Disney Investor Day, which was December.
Yeah, last time was Investor Day when they were dropping all those dates for all those shows and some trailers and all that. So it was December and it's March. So it's been a minute. And March typically is a superhero month. So it's a good thing we're coming back this month.
Yes, sir.
So we got a lot we're going to be hitting on today. We're going to be talking about some WandaVision because that just ended. We're going to be talking about the Zack Snyder cut that's coming, Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Solider that's coming. We're going to be talking about the Arrowverse, how they're in full go right now. More particularly about the debut of Superman and Lois and the shows going forward. We're going to hit a little bit, too, since it's a superhero thing, about the Marvels Avengers video game, because they have DLC coming in the same week as all this other stuff that's coming. So there's a lot to go over. So let's first start it off with WandaVision. WandaVision was the first MCU show on Disney Plus, and it just concluded this past Friday. And we're going to do non-spoilers for the people who haven't watched it and all this. We're going to do the best we can. So, Byron, man, which being the first one that the MCU is putting heavy money on. Me and you, we've watched Daredevil. We watched Jessica Jones. We watched all of those. Those were in the MCU, but they had no prevalence to the movies. The WandaVision was the first show that has true connection to the movie. So that's a lot of pressure. So, man, and you were out there every week talking about what you liked, didn't like, stuff about the episode. What do you think about it overall now that it's over?
Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. It was a mystery / thriller that just kept my interest every episode. I mean, it did start off slow, but after the third episode, just kept you hooked in and didn't let you go and kept it going until the very finale.
Mm-hmm. And this one, because they were did they start off like 30-minute episodes and they got up to like an hour or so, like the last couple episodes?
Yeah, I think the first two episodes were either 25 minutes or 30 minutes, and this last one was 50 minutes altogether.
And then just for the people who, again, connection to the movies, this technically takes place 3 weeks after the events of Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
So I don't know how quickly Spider-Man Far From Home was to Avengers Endgame, because it's probably around the same ballpark.
I would think so, right around that 3 weeks to a month mark.
Mm-hmm. So that's crazy, and the thing's been getting rave reviews, the sitcom style. Scarlet Witch and Vision's actors, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, they've been doing great. And they put a lot of money and time to these shows. So with this one being done, I mean, was the hype worth it?
It definitely was worth it. To me, I think it lived up to the MCU hype. It was rewarding for fans who have been dedicated to the MCU since day one. It was kind of a love letter to the fans of the comic books, because there was one episode when Wanda and Vision had the classic comic book looks. So I think it was a very good season. I think it lived up to the hype.
Hey, that was good to hear. And there's a whole bunch of surprises, spoilers, things of that nature that you're going to have to watch for yourself. We're not going to spoil it for you. But Byron, with this one being done, is there a possibility of a WandaVision 2? We know Wanda is going to be a heavy focus in Doctor Strange's second movie coming out. Like, do they leave the door open for that, or is this just a one-off?
I mean, they could potentially do a second season, but the way they ended it, it would be fine as just a one season, one-off type thing.
Got you. And when the last episode ended, did it have the typical don't click off when the credits go on? There's some end credit scenes. Did it still have that MCU type thing?
Yeah, so the first 6 episodes didn't have any mid-credit / end-credit scenes, but episodes 7, 8, and 9 you definitely had to watch at the end for little MCU end-credit scenes.
Well,
And then the last one had 2 end-credit scenes.
Okay, 2 end credit scenes. Be on the lookout for those. But from this one that just ended on March 5th, 2021, let's switch it up to the next show that's next in line for the MCU, which is the Falcon and Winter Soldier. That one's coming out, I believe. Yep, it's coming out March 19th, so in a couple of weeks. And that's going to run 6 episodes until April 23rd. So how many episodes were in WandaVision? Is that less than this or more than that? Or
Wanda had 9, Falcon and Winter Soldier have 6.
Okay. So with this one, it's going to be Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes. They're going to be dealing, obviously, a world without Captain America. For those who saw Avengers Endgame, you saw that Cap gave the shield to Sam. And so they're going to be dealing with some stuff like that. They're going to be dealing with Zemo. Zemo's back. Sharon Carter's back. So we're going to be seeing a whole bunch of things like this. Byron, what are you expecting out of this show? Because this is going to be a little different pace, I believe. Because they're not normal humans, but they don't have powers like a Vision or a Wanda. So I feel like this one's going to be a more grounded to earth type series. What do you think?
I agree. I think it's definitely going to be more action-packed than WandaVision was. Because, like I said, WandaVision was more of the mystery to just figure out like what's going on. But I think Falcon and Winter Soldier will be more action-packed with, Falcon being the new Captain America, essentially.
Yeah, and they're going to be fighting a group called the Flag Smashers. So we're going to really have to see how that goes. And we also have people like Rhodey's supposed to be potentially being in it. George St. Pierre is bringing back his role as George's product. If you remember him, he's the mercenary who fought Captain America on the ship in Winter Soldier. And there's some other people, and we don't know what's going to be happening. Zemo's back because he doesn't want the world to have superheroes. And in this one, he's finally going to be wearing his purple mask that he wears in the comics. Sharon Carter being back is going to be very interesting because if people remember, she's Peggy Carter, Steve Rogers' love interest. That's their niece. So, and she's been on the run since Civil War. So we're gonna find out where was she during all the shenanigans of Infinity War and Endgame. And they also got this guy named Riot Russell, who's going to be playing John F. Walker, who's a militaristic successor to Captain America created by the U.S. government. Obviously, which I'm going to be mad if it's still the same case. Like, oh, we have the Accords in place, but the Accords didn't matter when like Thanos was around. Because with this military version, they're just like, oh, this is our Captain America. He follows our rules, military, all that jazz.
I feel like they still would have the Accords in place since they have this new guy called the U.S. agent. But I feel like after Thanos, they should have looked at the Accords because he came from space. Like, they literally had to band together to defeat this guy. So I feel like they should have thrown the Accords away, but I know they didn't.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting, man, because this is going to be Sam's first time leading, and he's not going to be Captain America's sidekick. And also Bucky, he's going to have to deal with the 21st century without his buddy Steve. So there's going to be two people who they don't like each other that well, either dealing with the common loss of Steve. And I'll be interested to see what movie this series leads into. Like, are we going to see it? We know Rhodey's coming, and we know Rhodey's going to get his own show as well. But are we going to see other Avengers pop in?
I mean, I think it would be nice if they had other Avengers popped in, but I just think it's going to be solely focused on Falcon and Winter Soldier. Just like WandaVision was just focused solely on WandaVision.
Right, but WandaVision had people who were connected to like other Avengers. Like they had Darcy who was connected to like Thor and James.
Yeah.
And they have Mario Rapino, who's going to be like connected to like Captain Marvel 2, and like and Jimmy Woo, who was dealing with
Ant-Man.
So there's some people there who it'll be interesting, man. And then we'll stay on Marvel for one more before we switch to DC. Marvel's Avengers, since we're talking about the Avengers, their DLC is coming out, I think, that same week, 16th?
March 18th.
March 18th. So, gosh, those 2 days are going to be, oh boy, they're going to be jam-packed. Because March 18th, they're dropping the Hawkeye DLC. We're going to finally see how Hawkeye fainted at the end of the last Kate Bishop DLC. So we're going to continue that story of Hawkeye trying to save the future. We're going to get old man Hawkeye. And that story is going as well. And that story is different from the MCU, but it's a very intriguing story. I think the story is like the best part of that game.
The story is the best part of the game. That's why I keep coming back to the DLC. Because the way they have the DLC set up, it actually furthers the story. I know like some DLCs and games are just like a subset of like the game, but these DLCs actually have furthered the story of the game, and I think that's really neat the way they're doing it.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's just the only thing that really sucks about the DLC is it takes so long to get out.
Yeah, hopefully I know most of it was due to COVID. Like everything got slowed down and shifted around. So hopefully they'll get in a good pace where it's not so long between DLCs. Because I think Kate came out in December and now Hawkeye's dropping in March. So hopefully the next one will drop like May or June.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully, man, because once we're done with the Hawkeye one, we're gonna see who's next. Like what Avenger do they tease at the end of that one? Is that do we go into space? Do we stay on Earth? Like I'm excited, man. I'm so excited to be able to pick that game back up in a couple weeks. That's gonna be in a superhero week because that comes out the 18th.
Yep.
So that comes out the 18th. Falcon and Winter Solider come out the 19th, and probably to overshadow both of those, probably gonna be the biggest thing, maybe in pop culture that week. Zack Snyder's Justice League. That comes out on March 18th as well. And that is going to have the whole world talking because since 2017, when the Justice League came out to theaters, we heard the rumbling of a Snyder cut. No one believed it. And it popped up every year. And then it was so recently where the real actors like Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa were all saying #release the Snyder cut. And we're like, if the real actors are saying it's real, then it has to be real. And then finally they said, HBO Max, we're dropping the Snyder cut. And it's coming out March 18th. Promotions have been crazy. The trailers, you've even said in our message, they seem like a whole different movie. It's going to be broken up into 6 parts. So you can watch them all or you can watch a part, take a break, whatever. But because this movie together is 4 hours long. This is a big one, like probably the longest one ever. So, Byron, man, the hype, this movement, it shows what fans can do. But man, the hype for this is real because this has a lot to prove.
Yes, like you said, I've mentioned this many times where like just watching the trailer, it feels like a totally different movie than the one they put out in 2017. And I think that's what has me most excited is to see how different this movie plays out than the one that was released. I just feel like this is the movie that it should have been. Maybe not 4 hours long, but I just, from the trailer, it just feels like this is the movie that it should have been.
I agree 100% with you. I think the thing that really that pushed this hype to the next level was not these little trailers doing for each character, which have all been good, but that trailer where it ends, we live in a society.
Yes.
And you see him saying that, and he's like, "Isn't that right, Batman?" Turn around and see Jared Leto, Joker, long hair. Everyone goes, "Oh my God!" And that just set things ablaze.
Yes, I was not expecting him to be in the movie at all.
No, me either. And that's new footage because if you remember, the reason Jared Leto's Joker got some flack, obviously, it was the first Joker after Heath Ledger, so anyone right after Heath is going to get slapped.
Yep.
But his Joker had like short hair, gangster type thing, and Suicide Squad just wasn't killing it. It wasn't at all. But just that one line, though, we live in a society, and you see long hair Joker in the cop vest, you're just like, oh my god.
I'm very interested to see how this Joker plays out from the Suicide Squad Joker, because I feel like in Suicide Squad, I feel like some of his scenes were cut shorter than what they were supposed to do. I feel like we got a very different version of the Joker than what was actually filmed.
Right. And this is going to be wild, man, because this is going to be the first time on screen we get to see Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker interact.
Yes.
So that is crazy in itself. We're going to get some Deathstroke. We're gonna see Darkseid. Like, sweet lord.
Darkseid looks so hard.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna get Granny Goodness. We're getting a lot of stuff that we didn't get. We're getting Iris in this. Lex Luthor is gonna be in this one. Like, man, it's gonna be crazy. And if this movie, because I'm gonna watch the whole thing, obviously, because we're gonna have to report.
Yes, sir.
So we're definitely gonna be watching. And if this movie lives up to the hype, and if it exceeds the hype, Warner Brothers is probably gonna be like, dude, we're gonna have to change up the plan. We might have to run it back with Justice League 2.
They might have to. If it lives up to the hype, they definitely have to run it back for Justice League 2. Which
means running it back, and they'd have to run it back with the original, with the actors. We know, I believe Gal Gadot's still on. Well, obviously, she's doing her third movie. Flash is doing a movie. Cyborg stuff's up here because he's been having the beef with like Jeff Johns and all of that. Henry Cavill, nobody knows because there's always the rumors that he's back, he's not back, something happened. They're doing a new Superman movie out of the blue, and we don't know who's going to be in there. Obviously, we're getting a Supergirl movie. I know The Rock playing Black Adam. He wants Henry Cavill's Superman and his stuff. So there's all that. And then, of course, the biggest wild card is Batman.
Yep.
Because this is really good. Does Benny A come back?
I don't know.
That's the $1 billion question.
Right. Like, if they do a Justice League 2, will they use can't think of the actor's name now, but the Batman Robert Pattinson. Will they use him as Batman?
The thing is that Robert Pattinson, which we're going to talk about the Arrowverse next, because the Arrowverse actually established and set all this up. Robert Pattinson's Batman's in a different Earth.
Okay.
Universe. So from what we know, he is not a younger Ben Affleck, because that Batman is year 2 in his career of being Batman. Right. But it also depends on, they could use him depending on what the Flash movie does. Because we're talking about Justice League. If this is good and Benny A comes back for Justice League 2, we don't even know if he's still the Bat. Like, they say he's confirmed for Flash, but it's not been said. Because remember, it's supposed to be Flash, Ben Affleck's Batman, and Michael Keaton's Batman. And none of this has been confirmed.
Right, because it's supposed to be like the Flashpoint paradox.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So get old man Batman.
And that's where,
or old man Thomas Wayne, I should say.
Yeah, so and none of that's been confirmed. That's another, like, when it comes to Batman, you can't listen to any rumor until it's confirmed, because you'll just get caught in the rumor mill.
I mean, I feel like Benny A would have to come back if they do a Justice League 2.
I feel like you would have to, especially if it's successful, because Zack Snyder, who he has said Ben Affleck is greatest to him, obviously that is not an absolute fact. Ben Affleck is the greatest Batman ever, so you already know he loves him. He's the one who recruited Ben to play Batman, so I don't see him having any other Batman be his Batman. So and with Ben Affleck too, we say it's a wild card because always where his mental state's at. Like, where is he at physically, mentally? Because remember, he was supposed to be writing that Batman script where he was supposed to have a fight with Deathstroke the whole movie, and I would have loved to see that, but his personal life and all that pressure just got to him, and he couldn't do it. So then we have Robert Pattinson, who's already signed on for 3.
Oh, I didn't know that.
As Batman. Yeah, he's already 3, and he hasn't even done 1. Remember, they're getting the HBO show Gotham, which we already just had, but their HBO Gotham series is going to be directly connected to the Pattinson Batman.
Okay, did not know that either. Okay.
Yeah, it's wild, man, because I want this to be super successful, but then if it's Omega successful, they're really going to have to. You're going to have to go back in the lab and do contract negotiations, because no matter if Warner Brothers sees extra money, they're going to run it back. They're going to want
right, and I'm sure the fans will want them to run it back too. Like, if this movie does well, I definitely would love to see a Justice League 2.
Yeah, because you want to see Darkseid in action.
And like from the Darkseid from like the animated movies, he's so in movies.
Mm-hmm. And like, we're thinking too, I also forgot to say, we're finally going to get the Martian Manhunter, like, alien version. Because remember, he's the defense guy from Man of Steel, and he was shown in Justice League a little bit. But we're finally going to get his alien version. Harry Lennox plays Calvin Swanwick and Martian Manhunter. So we're going to get Martian Manhunter version. We're supposed to have some superhero cameo at the end of this movie that no one saw coming. So I'm really interested in that. So, man, I depending on what this movie does and what Flash does, that's what's beside DC's future.
Yeah, because I know they have Aquaman 2 coming. You got Wonder Woman 3. They have the Flash movie, Shazam 2, Black Adam. So they got some movies. They got some movies lined up. Years.
I think Black Adam's going to do fine financially because it has The Rock, and The Rock's fame will come no matter what it is. I just want to see how good it'll be, and you already see he's getting the best shape of his life. Wonder Woman 3, they already signed on. Gal and Patty, we'll see, because that's supposed to be in present day. Aquaman 2 will be big because he's also supposed to get like a HBO series about like the trenches or whatever, like thing. And Aquaman 1 was the first DCEU, so the DC Extended Universe, first one to get to $1 billion.
I mean, it was a good movie. I've watched it a couple times.
It was. Mm-hmm. Shazam 1 was really good. For Shazam 2, there you got all back, and you got to have Shazam long enough so when Shazam and Black Adam, because they're arch enemies, to finally clash. You got to have that. So yeah, man. Depending on how, there's a lot, man. There's a lot of promise with the DCEU right now. I know it started off super rocky, especially Justice League. That was BVS was a real rock bottom. Then Suicide was a rock bottom. Justice League, now we're getting a whole other movie because of rock bottom that is. But ever since Wonder Woman 1, it has picked up a lot.
Wonder Woman really set the motion for the DCEU.
Yeah, so they've been hitting. But let's talk about the real DC universe around here, the connector of all, the Arrowverse.
GOAT.
Arrowverse is back in full swing. Black Lightning season 4 is going strong. Flash season 7 just started this week. It's going strong. We already got dates for Supergirl season 6 coming out March 30th. We have Legends of Tomorrow and Stargirl coming out in May. Both are May, if I'm right.
I know Legends is May, but I'm not 100% sure about Stargirl. I know they said early summer, so May or June.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing right now, and Batwoman season 2 is blowing me out. It's beyond what I thought it was going to be. Season 1 was not. But season 2, it's really surprising.
The same. I like the new Batwoman. Ryan Wilder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She's killing it. But the biggest thing right now, man, we had the debut of Superman and Lois. And it was one of the biggest debuts on the network ever. I think it was the biggest rating since Crisis of Infinite Earths, one of the episodes, the Flash's episode. which,
man,
oof,
if you could top Crisis on Infinite Earths, you got a real special thing.
On your premiere, like you knew it was going to be good when they gave him 2 hours for the premiere. Byron, man, so far we're 2 episodes in, but man, I'm hooked to this show. What are you thinking about Superman?
I am hooked too. It was a great debut episode. It's probably my favorite. Like that first 5 minutes is probably my favorite intro to any Arrowverse episode ever. Like the way they did the lore for Superman, showing him as a kid into present day with the 2 kids and married Lois. Oh, it was just so great. And they had that classic Superman suit. It was a great debut episode.
Like it looks fantastic. Like you could tell they're putting a lot of money into these ones. After 1 episode, it was already renewed for season 2.
That's impressive.
1 episode, basically your pilot episode, and you're already renewed for season 2. And like it looks fantastic. Tyler plays Superman when he's in the Superman suit. Sweet Lord, he looks like
he does.
Superman.
Like he looks like Clark Kent and looks like Superman at the same time. It's impressive.
Like the show is just phenomenal. Already 2 episodes in, and I'm just so hooked into it. And like Lois, she's fantastic. It's a different take, because the problem with Superman that's always been is like, how do you write a relatable story to one of the strongest people in the universe, the quintessential superhero, the strongest person on Earth, the first superhero, barely has any vulnerabilities, and they're doing it well because you see Superman as a dad, a husband, and he has 2 sons who are 2 completely different sons, even though they were born the same day. One is the superstar athlete, starting quarterback of varsity, is a freshman type. And then you have one who's autistic. He's autistic, right?
Yeah, I think they said he was autistic.
Yeah, he's autistic. He plays the video games. He has music blaring. Him and his dad are supposed to be going to therapy sessions. Like, you have 2 different ends of the spectrum for kids, and he's dealing with all of that. Obviously dealing with the pressure of being a good husband, being Superman to the world, stuff with his job. Don't want to spoil what happened with the job for those who haven't seen it, but definitely check it out. But it's real life stuff like that happens with his job, and you have your job that happens, and all the stuff you have to deal with at home, and then we're not even talking about his other stuff that we probably won't see this season because coronavirus stopped us from having a crossover. His other responsibilities to the league of when there's a worldwide threat. We won't see that this season. There's no crossover because of coronavirus, but that's another thing that he has to deal with in the back of his mind, because for those, this wasn't his original Earth. Not even like, we know he's from Krypton, but from Crisis on Infinite Earths, everything got destroyed, and this was not the Earth he was even living on. So his whole life changed. Byron, if you remember, before Crisis, he just had his first son, Jonathan.
Yep.
And then when Crisis happened, it changed it so much that his son wasn't a baby. He was a teenager, and he had 2 sons. So if you watch that end scene where Superman's like, boys, because he didn't remember having 2, let alone being teenagers.
Crisis changed everything.
So that's wild, man. And Superman's coming in. It's starting at a great time because obviously Arrow had its 8 years, and they're the show that set it off for everything. They're the show that opened all the other shows. And as the leader left, Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, Spectre, we needed someone else to fill in that time slot, and Superman was the perfect one. And Byron just got a correction. He is not autistic. He has social anxiety disorder.
Okay,
which makes more sense.
So that makes sense why he's so standoffish and shy and socially awkward.
Mm-hmm. And you have to see what happens with him because it's a surprise. But yeah, Superman coming in, filling in that Arrow spot. We know Black Lightning season 4. This is going to be the last season, but Painkiller, who he is sweet in his own right, he's getting a spin-off show. Apparently, we know Supergirl season 6 this is going to be the last season. I think they're only going to go 6 seasons, and the main star, obviously, Melissa's having a baby. So we have those two ending, and we have Superman coming in, Stargirl, Flash, and Legends already renewed. Byron, what's next for the Arrowverse? Because a lot of people, which I mean, I think even myself, the pinnacle was getting to Crisis, and they did it. They connected all the shows and the movies and all of that. How do you sustain that now? Because you got some big people.
Yeah, you have had obviously Arrow left. Now Supergirl is leaving. So that's 2 of what we like to call the Arrowverse Trinity that have left.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know where they go from here, but I know they eventually need another crossover as big as Crisis of Infinite Earths, because that's where they established the Arrowverse Justice League. So you need to have that team up eventually. I know they can't do it this season because of COVID and that changed everything, but next seasons, you got to have a big crossover event.
Yeah, and with these shows ending, what Arrow ended went 8 seasons. Obviously, Supergirl's going 6, Spotlight 4. The shows are ending, but I've read it doesn't mean that they're the stars. Like they could still pop up in other people's shows.
Which I kind of that's what one of my major questions was when they decided to do the Arrowverse Justice League. Like, are other heroes going to pop up at other people's shows? Like, what's going to happen with that?
Mm-hmm. No, man, that's true because we haven't seen it, and COVID really messed it up. I would have loved to see how they build off that because they would really don't know what episodes have been filled for Superman and Lois, but they gotta have. I feel like they gotta have an episode where Melissa, Supergirl.
They got to, because in season 2, that's when we see Superman for the first time. I think he was in episode either the first or second episode. So with her leaving, she definitely has to show up somewhere in Superman. Just like, I just want to know how they're going to explain her leaving in Supergirl the last season, like season 6.
Well, yeah, we don't know how that season's going to end. It can end on some happy stuff and like, yeah, Supergirl. And then they just stop making episodes, but the characters show up on other things of that nature. But me personally, I think what the Arrowverse can do now, they can open it up for the next generation. So let's say, I've been thinking about this for a while. Legends of Tomorrow deals with time travel, right? Legends of Tomorrow, if they had to go into the future, they would be the perfect backdoor pilot for, we're just going to say it now, for a Batman Beyond show.
That is true. Because they have teased like future heroes, like with his daughter becoming Green Arrow. They've teased that. Mia, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Tease that in the future, like 20 years of peace, but then something's wrong. Now we got bad guys again. So I personally would have loved to see a Green Arrow and Canary show, but that just got canned and it breaks my heart. But I could see them doing something like that where in the Legends they introduce like the future heroes, like a Batman Beyond or another future hero.
Yeah, they can do Batman Beyond, Booster Gold, things of that nature. Legends always has like just a ragtag group of heroes, so they can always introduce other ones. And Green Arrow and the Canaries was so interesting because we only got the one episode after Crisis, and we see that people are selling pre-Crisis memories, and that's the biggest mystery of like who has access to this stuff and how. And you're seeing how Mia has to deal with trying to carry her dad's legacy because she gets her pre-crisis memories back. And they realize that her dad is not just the hero of Star City. He's the hero for the world. Even higher than that, he's the hero for the multiverse. So how do you live up to that type of legacy? Like she, I believe, said the same Spider-Man line that he said in the Far From Home trailer. Everywhere she goes, she's reminded of him. Like the statue of her dad, like the pictures, the news clippings. So it would almost be the same as like how Peter is trying to live up to Iron Man after Iron Man sacrificed himself in Endgame. The same way Mia tries to live up to her dad after he sacrificed himself twice.
Yeah, and I would have loved just to seen that, especially with like the pre-crisis memories. That's just like the biggest mystery, and I need an answer to that. And the fact that I won't get an answer to that just frustrates me.
Yeah, but I don't. Do you think now that we have 2 other shows leaving, do you think they would think about bringing it back now? Because unless they have another show we don't know about that's going to come in the work, still praying for John Diggle Green Lantern show. Still praying for that. But do you think they have other shows?
I feel like they would have to because Supergirl's leaving, and then you have Black Lightning leaving. So that's 2 shows that need filling. I know one of them is going to be that Painkiller show. So what else is going to fill? So either you need the Green Lantern show with John Diggle or Green Arrow and the Canaries. Either one I would be fine for, because I definitely would love to see John Diggle take up the Green Lantern mantle.
Yeah, and also I know they have to be thinking, because Grant put in his Instagram post, they're closer. Flash is closer to the end than it is the beginning. They already got approved for season 8. Like they're going to season 8 next year. And they're going to, and Legends is going to season 7. They're the last of the old guard still left. So after those 2, the most seasoned show, which is going to be wild to think about, will be Batwoman season 3.
Wow, yeah.
That's going to be the most season show after. Yeah. The Superman and Lois will be season 2. Stargirl season 2, I'm thinking it'll probably get renewed, so that'll be season 3. So they'll be tied. Those 2 shows that just came out will be the most seasoned shows on the Arrowverse once Flash and Legends is gone.
That is very crazy to think about.
And we don't know how much longer Flash and Legends are going. I feel like DC, they're going to try and run Flash for as much as they can because, like you said, he's the last of the Arrowverse Trinity left. We don't know how Supergirl's going to get written at the end, but we know Green Arrow has passed away to save everyone. So it's wild, man. And with DC too, Crisis showed us you never know. Does Grant's show end the same time that the Flash movie comes out because he shows up in the Flash movie like Ezra?
That would be crazy if they did it like that.
I feel like you gotta have Grant on there. Since Ezra was the biggest superhero shocker.
Yeah, I never expected them to pull the DCEU into the Arrowverse.
Yeah, there will be no superhero shocker bigger than that ever, unless one of the Arrowverse people show up on the movies. But no one saw that coming, and
it broke the internet. The way they tied all the DC shows together in Crisis of Infinite Earths was fantastic.
That Crisis will never be done ever again, and I don't even want to. And I want to do it justice. We just need to have we just need to talk about Crisis in its own different podcast episode because what it set the bar for superhero TV shows with commercials. MCU, I mean, they're doing this stuff. They don't even have commercials like the Netflix and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had commercials, but to do what they did with commercials and 5 episodes telling an event, it was the biggest crossover ever.
Yeah, I don't know how you top it with the next crossover event. You have more comic book knowledge than I do, but to me, just seeing it live, that's like you said, it's the biggest crossover event like any show has tried to pull off, and they did it successfully.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to top it. What I do think they'll be able to do is come down from it and they've opened the door, like you said, at the end of Crisis, where they're paying their respects to heroes, to Oliver, and they start their Justice League. They can have smaller villains because you're not going to get any higher than the Anti-Monitor, except if they go all the way to Mom Perpetual, which I don't think TV is ready for that. And so they could do stuff like a Brainiac invading Earth.
Yeah, and they've hinted that in Supergirl with shot going into the future to stop Brainiac. And I was hoping they would do that, like either show like future episodes of them like stopping Brainiac, but I would actually love to see Brainiac in the Arrowverse.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of villains they can pull from, but one thing they did with Crisis, they're trying to come down unless they have a plan. Because remember, Crisis has been planned since the Flash season 1. That when they had the news, you talk about one of the most important things in the Arrowverse. That newspaper article has been the key to this whole. We didn't know they get there.
Yeah, that was definitely a great build since Flash season 1. Because every few episodes they would show that newspaper. I'm like, man.
Yeah, it was time, but man, Byron, in a couple of weeks, next week actually, we got a big man. We got the Snyder Cut coming out. We got Marvel's Avengers DLC coming out, and we have Falcon and Winter Solider coming out all in the same week. Guys, if you're a superhero fan, this is DC, Marvel. This is the time, man.
I'm so excited. I am so excited to see again, like that Marvel Avengers game is it's one of my favorite games. So I'm definitely excited to play as Hawkeye because looks like he's going to be another support character, and we all know I love to play support characters. And then you just have Snyder Cut 4 hours. I'm definitely have to set aside a block to watch all 4 hours in one sitting.
Gotta watch that, take notes.
And then Falcon and Winter Solider. I'm just in love with the MCU and everything they've done. I mean, if not everything has been super great, but I just love the MCU, so I'm excited for whatever they want to throw at us.
Yeah, so it's wild, man. But Captain, man, you got anything else you want to say before we?
If you haven't watched WandaVision, watch it. You will be thoroughly enjoy. You would love it. And the season finale of it is just great. The way they pay homage to and reward the fans. So definitely watch it. And then, of course, definitely watch all the upcoming shows in the next couple weeks.
Hey, you heard the man. All I'm going to say, just to play off of Jared Leto, we live in a society where if you're not listening to the L7C...
You're missing some gems. That's what you're doing.
Hey, we live in a society. You need the L7C podcast, and those people out there who are listening, subscribing, liking, all that stuff, we appreciate you guys. We're definitely going to be back, Byron and I, reviewing Snyder Cut because the whole world is, and we're part of the world, so we got to do it too. And also, Byron's going to be back, besides that, in a couple of weeks when we bring back the Naruto What If battle with the ladies. That'll be coming up in a couple
I'm excited to that. I need to start doing my research.
And man, with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. You guys take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.